Hello. It's 4 o'clock.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second webinar in the series of leadership development that is on leadership during crisis. My name is Milind Desai, and I'll be the one who's going to take this session today. Very warm welcome to all the participants who have joined and who are going to join us soon. We have participants today from Vadodara, Ahmedabad, Mumbai, Surat, Rajkot, Delhi, Bangalore, and one from Singapore. Right. Thank you very much. So precisely, we'll be talking about the leadership during crisis today, and this should take not more than an hour today. Let's be as participative as possible. In case due to network issues, if I get disconnected, I'll get back on the same network, same site within the next 2 minutes. And if at all you get disconnected due to whatever reasons, you can use the same URL to log in back. So great, thank you very much. Let's begin this session. I'm disabling my video so you can concentrate on the screen that I already have on the screen. All right, so let me take it to the next screen. Let me talk about what we are and what kind of business that we are into. We are into the strategic people operations. And as I said, my name is Milind Desai. I'm the consultant for strategic people operations and management. When I talk about strategic people operations and management, our expertise lies in strategic HR business partnering, people process re-engineering, business vision creation, strategic people operations, KRAs and KPIs development, which is one of the important tools for the businesses. The next is organization development, senior leadership mentoring, performance management, compensation and benefits, and the last one is organization design and restructuring. So that's pretty much about us. Let me take you to the agenda for today. Today we would be talking about what is crisis and why do crises occur. We'll talk about the dynamics of the crisis situation. The next, I'll share a crisis framework in which I'll be talking about some pillars and priorities to consider during the crisis. And the last, I'll show you a video of Tylenol cyanide crisis that happened in 1980 in US. And that's an example to look at, how the crisis was managed. Right. Some of the instructions that this recording of this webinars will be sent out to all the participants via email. Now, the thing that this webinar is live right now on YouTube with the lag of probably 30 or 40 seconds. You can use your chat box is available for any questions that you may have. There are 2 polls during this webinar. I would request all of you to participate in the polls that I'm going to create. And during the poll, try to be as true as possible because that's going to help other participants to be, to get the maximum out of this particular webinar. Okay, and I'm really glad that, today we are talking about leadership in crisis, which is obviously a timely topic. And we were all, obviously concerned about our health and those around us. And I think we also need to recognize that this is a good time to you to know that to learn new things and to prepare for the future that's ahead of us. So I don't want to ignore the current situation, but I also want you to use this as a learning opportunity. And I'll start by talking about what we are going to be doing. And I'll be making the presentation that's already on the screen that will, that talk about crisis and what is crisis. All right, so let's begin. Let's begin our session today. So, what is crisis? So, let's start with what is crisis and when. Well, you know why crises occur, and the current situation is fine example of crisis. That is coronavirus, and that is it was certainly unexpected and really incomprehensible in scale, which is uncontrollable and unavoidable. We are trying very hard, and the government authorities are trying very hard, and one that might be a little bit controversial and that can be unavoidable. Can this crisis be avoided? There's some kind of theory that is complicated. The systems where there are multiple failures, then the crisis will be unavoidable. So as you see on the screen, crisis is a set of events that is unexpected and unavoidable. And the crisis occur when there are multiple failures in this complex system. When it's a system, the country is a system, the house is a system, your organizations are a system, right? So let's look at the next slide. Okay, so if you look at this, you look at this list of the coronavirus crisis in the middle. That is what we are all kind of living through and concerned about right now. But it is certainly not the only one crisis, because we've been seeing like there are marathon bombing, 9/11, recession. We'll be talking about the Tylenol murders, the great influenza, uh, yeah, the nuclear disaster. So the crisis being an inevitable, we need to learn what can. For this, we need to prepare for the next by reflecting on the last. And as I think about this list, you see corporate crisis as well. Here you see accident, you see disease, you see economic crisis, and it does in fact get a little dark, doesn't it? But as I reflect on this list, I think all of those who are from you from the corporate background and then the leading position, your global group within the marathon bombing is probably the most recent crisis that happened in 2013 now, and I think the 2008 or 2010 the global crisis, the recession that happened, right? So let me give you a thought about which says those who cannot remember the history are condemned to repeat it, right? This was given by George Santayana. And so basically it says that we need to learn from what has happened in the history. We'll talk more about it in the slide and time to come. Okay, so I want to suggest to you that crisis is a leadership intensive activity. Now, some of us are leading teams, some of us are followers, and some of us are the leaders in the organization. Some of us are team leads in the organization. We are the managers. We have senior managers. And we are part of the teams that are trying to grapple with what to do and how do we respond properly to this crisis that we have. All of us are reflecting on our national response and thinking about our national leaders, and perhaps even our global leaders are trying to both learn from the response and support and the response. So with in a mind, I want to suggest that what we'll talk about today is really two questions, and I would like you to reflect on this question. These are the two questions. The first question is, what are the dynamics that are challenging for leaders? And then secondly, very simply, how should leader respond? And again, think about your organization, the team you are a part of, the family that you're part of, the world around you, as you think about the answers to these questions. Okay, so you can put your answers in the chat box while you're writing in the chat box. So I'm going to ask this question, and let's reflect in the chat. I'm going to show you the little one model and show you a video of crisis. As I said before, we are going to evaluate the video, and then we'll talk about how you are responding in your organizations during the crisis using these model. Right. So think of crisis dynamics, what makes crisis challenging, and you can think of the coronavirus situation first because that's happening as of now, the first and foremost. But really, any of the crises on the list, any other crisis that you have experienced in your company or your life or in your teams, in your organization that you can talk about, that what makes it challenging, and take a moment and put that in the chat. I'm waiting for. Okay, I'm getting responses from people. Great. A lot of great answers are coming up here. Okay. Right. Someone is saying complexity and certainly certainty. Okay. Ambiguity, yes. Uh, Team cohesion, yes. Fear of unknown, very good. Fear of mistakes, absolutely. Resistance to change. Working from home. Now that's not a crisis, my friend. That's the new reality. That's a new world that we need to be working on. So I would not say working from home is a crisis. Working from home is the answer to the crisis, is a part of the solution of the crisis that we are talking about. One of the state governor in the US once said that in every emergency situation, we end up focusing on an issue that we have never thought of before. Right, and that's where, that's how we respond to the crisis. I'm still getting a lot of responses. Yes, Mehul, resistance to change is one of the biggest crises that we have. I mean, biggest the dynamics the leaders are facing, because change is not happy. People may not like it. Fear of unknown, yes, that's I would go with. Yes, people are not sure what's going to happen today, what's going to happen tomorrow, whether we are going to start working from Monday or we are not going to start from, maybe the entire month of May. Team cohesion, yes, that's one of the challenge all leaders are facing today. Communication, absolutely. Communication is one of the problem, the leaders are facing today. Uh, However, I would say that rather than leaders, I would say the people below you, people who report to you, they might be facing a communication related problem, right? So how should leader respond? We'll talk about it in later. All right, so thank you for all your inputs. Right. So some of the common dynamics, the stakes are high, and against the background, these dynamics are very common. And these are the things that you mentioned in the chat. So the scale of problem grows beyond initial estimate. Like, so we all knew that, when we heard about coronavirus back in November 2019, we were not sure whether, the virus would, take this big picture in our lives, and the country will go under lockdown, right? So yes, the scale of the problem grows beyond the initial estimate. So when all the crises that showed you before, it can be 9/11, or it can be the disaster that happened at the nuclear plant, maybe the coronavirus, of course, right? So that is almost certainly true, and it's true the current crisis, true for the current crisis as well. I think we can all remember where we were when we were just heard of the COVID-19 coronavirus, and that was the time when the big or immediate need was to prepare ourselves for damage control. But as we know, that probably we were not sure that this is going to take this big picture. The futures are uncertain, and facts are ambiguous. If you see the word which says VUCA, which was coined by the US Army, which is very popular in the world of management. This word VUCA, VUCA, is very popular in the world of management and the human resources, which stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, which describes a crisis situation things. Speed up information comes up to a faster than we can process. The information that we are getting today is so much that at times before we process one information, we are loaded with another one. It's difficult, it's hard to stay positive, and the bad news can control our thoughts very fast. And everybody's looking for information, and the absence of information, the rumor mill can start. And when the rumor mill starts, there can be confusions, and we confuse each other by our responses, we confuse each other by our debates. That's what even we've been watching on the TV. or the WhatsApp, a lot of misguiding information that comes to our screen. The choices are not always right versus wrong, but at times it's the wrong versus wrong, and it depends on us which wrong is to take into the consideration, right? But how can we make the best of the bad situation immediately and in environment when the anxieties are high? So we need to innovate under the stress in real time with those who are around us. So with that, with the background, I want to ask you the next question. Don't forget, people are depending on us against the background of the challenge in that intense leadership that we are demonstrating as of now. How should leader respond, you think? A lot of attitudes are coming up. Mindset, yes, Jigar, you're right. Mindset is one of the issues. What I'm going to call mindset in a minute. What you prepare yourself. What's your posture? Communication strategies are one of the big thing. All right, someone has raised the hand. Hmm. Okay. All right, so no one. Dinesh Kumar Mishra. All right. All right. So as I said, Jigar said the mindset is one of the issue, and and as I said, what I'm going to call mindset in a minute. What you are prepare yourself. What's your posture? Communication strategies are some of. It's a part of the framework that I'm going to share with all of you very soon. All right. So let me show you the framework, the crisis management framework for leaders. Let me show you that. Okay, this is called crisis framework. Now let me give you a little model which can really help us identify what are the things we need to pay attention to, and I want to suggest to you that paying attention to them, to the right things in crisis, can help us rise to a new level of performances, and also help us as leader around us do things that maybe it didn't think we are possible. So three pillar of crisis response. One is mindset. What is our posture? What is our attitude? What actions can we take to get in the right mindset and address the crisis situation? The second is solution. So how do we think about the solution and the right things to do, and how do we frame a plan and a set of plans to deal with the crisis situation? And the third one, as a lot of people wrote in the chat, that how do we communicate and experience people who have been through a number of crises in the past, and they all understand that communication is critical. And in fact, all of the three things, what I'm calling the pillars of this model that's there on the screen, work together. So how do we get the what actions that we can make to get the right mindset? Okay, so I want to suggest for that, what is the advice for leaders is to keep one eye on the telescope and another eye on the microscope. So I hope you understand the statement. Keep one eye on the telescope and one eye on the microscope. So basically, understand the context, understand the big picture, and understand details of what's going on around us, and learn to manage networks, and learn to delegate, and learn to patiently move people to mission that in crisis situation you need to jump shift. So, and the mindset, if you see, it's a jump shift from your current level to active new level. So that can be, you may want to change your gear from probably gear number 2 to gear number maybe fifth gear. Okay, your level of active involvement, in just describing solution all the time or directive of outcomes. Leaders needs to be very directive of process in crisis situation, of managing the process, focusing on a goal without ego. This is the time where we all need to put our egos aside and work together. This can be difficult, and it start with you owning the problems and solution, at the same time being humble and asking for help, and accepting help from unusual places, as many places as possible, right? So asking help during the crisis will not make you small. At times, being a leader, we always feel that we are the one who should be giving the results. But trust me, that may not be true. You can ask for help from others as well. All right. So that's about the mindset. In terms of solution, getting ahead of the problem is very difficult. The solution we come up with today, it may work for a day or three, and from now we are going to seem like in 2 3 days you may feel that solution that you've come up with, it's timid and outdated. So let's get ahead of it, and let's think not only the consequences that are immediate, but the consequences of those consequences, and try to plan 2 steps ahead. Bring teams together and make people part of the solution. So while making the strategy of dealing with crisis, ensure that you involve people in this, right? And make people part of the crisis management strategy. Remember, in crisis, what we need is the exploratory response. That means you need to explore certain strategies or the solutions. All right, things are uncertain, so and we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, so we need to explore new things. And the best way to explore is to bring teams together, make people part of it, and kind of demand a process that involves rapid learning. Managing expectation needs to be part of any plan, and also having a plan A, plan B, plan C. In the current crisis, that will be like a time bound plan. So if we are open in 2 weeks, here is the plan A. If we are opening in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, this is the plan B. If you're opening in 6 weeks from now, this is a plan C. Right. So always in crisis, make sure that you have at least 2 to 3 plans, that once you open, once the system opens up, how do we want to deal with the situation. Right. So always remember, if you fail to plan, you'll plan to fail. And there'll be failures to minimize regret, and move on quickly from the things that did not work. Because because at times what happens, that you plan for certain things and you realize that it's not working. So be it, that's okay, go ahead and make a new plan. Right. So and the next thing which I was talking about is, you need to be truthful and transparent, as you can make clear commitments to value, to priorities. And finally, I saw a number of people who wrote in the chat that protect confidence and project the calm. If you get unbalanced, or as a leader, if you get into the fear of unknown, your team would not be able to trust you. Okay, so I think we are seeing that this national level and this is a national level crisis, and certainly there are a lot of lessons to be learned to communicate proactively. So be truthful and transparent, because people can smell, your the way you communicate, and the trust. So the trust that you have built up over a long period of time will be crashed in a moment in the crisis situation. So to ensure that the way you communicate is something which make you the true leader. Your communication should not stop. As a leader, in my previous webinar also I was talking about that your communication is key to managing your crisis. So while in the crisis situation, you should be talking to at least people who are 2 levels below to you, and then same goes to everyone in the organization. So if you are the business owner, you can be talking to your senior management probably every week. Give them heads up what's happening, what's the finances that we are looking at, what's the situation that we are looking at. And the same way you can talk to a level below, that will gain the trust of your people. Okay, so what I would like to do now, I'll show a little video, and it's a video of crisis situation, and then I'm going to ask you, when you think about this video, and it's a video that deals with the crisis in USA, as I said, in 1980. Many of you are too young to remember it. Probably, it's at least 40 years old crisis that we are talking about. So, which was the Tylenol murders, and Tylenol is the time laced with poison in Chicago. So there was a medicine that was released in the market in Chicago, and 7 people lost their lives after consuming those medicine. And this product was launched by Johnson & Johnson, and James Burke was the CEO of Johnson & Johnson then. So his response to this Tylenol murder has been hailed as a positive example of how you can lead in a crisis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a little video, and then I'm going to ask you to use the model I have just gave you to evaluate. You may want to start the audio of the device that you are on.
Good evening. This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. A bizarre and terrifying story today in the Chicago suburbs of Arlington Heights and Elk Grove Village. A 12-year-old girl and 2 men who are brothers are dead after taking poison capsules of extra-strength Tylenol.
The fall of 1982, the Tylenol poisonings occurred. The first thing that popped into my head was, how could this possibly have happened at our plant?
A warning against the use of Tylenol.
No one knew for days if the poisoned bottles were limited to Chicago. But even as the police and FBI began to search for clues, Jim Burke already had concluded that all Tylenol capsules, not just those in Chicago, but nationwide, should be recalled.
Johnson & Johnson will no longer manufacture or sell any capsule products made directly available to the consumer. While this decision is a financial burden to us, it does not begin to compare to the loss suffered by the family and friends of Diane Ellsroth. On behalf of the entire Johnson & Johnson organization, I have expressed our heartfelt sympathy to Diane's family and loved ones.
We asked James Burke, Chief Executive Officer at Johnson & Johnson, to let us watch behind the scenes as the story developed, and he agreed.
Let me take you through the logical sequence. Number one, this shows us very clearly the consumer was waiting to hear from us, and when she heard from us, she responded positively. Great. No question about it. So until we bring the third leg in, which is commercial television advertising, we're not using all the weapons available to us.
What she is saying is that she needs reassurance, and we're giving it to her. What she's saying is the most positive reassurance you can give me is a tamper-resistant package, and we're going to give it to her. And what she's saying, in spite of that, and we have to track this as we go, is that deep down I'm concerned. Your conclusion is, since she's concerned, we ought to go out and sell her. There's nothing more offensive to me if I'm frightened than somebody tell me I ought to buy their product, and I know I ought to buy it, and I feel I ought to buy it, but I can't.
Well, I got a lot of credit for that. But the fact is, my job was made not only simple, but there wasn't anything else I could have done. Every person who worked for Johnson & Johnson in the world was watching the poisonings.
The Food and Drug Administration...
You couldn't get off an airplane in any country in the world without having your baggage searched for Tylenol. If we had done anything other than what we did, think of how those employees would have felt. I mean, the very soul of the corporation was watching us. The other thing I did that I think helped was I decided to talk to the heads of news of all of the networks alone. And by the way, the lawyers hated the fact I was doing it because they didn't know what our obligations were legally. And they were very, very opposed to it, and Larry Foster was opposed. Everybody was opposed to it.
Okay.
I think that may have been intuitively one of the best things I did, because I built a relationship with the heads of news and the networks. And they called me day and night when they felt the need to. They didn't bother me.
One network told me that 20% of their news for the first 8 days
I had
following the tampering was on this story.
an implicit faith in the media.
And I would not
which probably was somewhat unique, because most people don't. Didn't then, and less so now. But I had felt that as long as the public was at stake, the media would behave extremely well, and they did.
Johnson & Johnson announced its new safety packaging.
This package has 3 separate barriers to entry and affords the public the best protection we could reasonably devise. The outer box has glued flaps Then there's a red seal, as you can see, around the outside, which is the second barrier. And then that's...
All right, look at that.
And that's the third barrier, which is a... Thank you.
This will obviously cause a rise in the price of the product.
No, we're not going. We're going to absorb the price because we think it's good business too.
We had to make hundreds of decisions on the fly. Hundreds of people made thousands of decisions. If you look back, we didn't make any bad decisions. Really, we really didn't. Those thousands of decisions all had a splendid consistency about them, and that was that the public was going to be served first, because that's who was at stake. So the reason people talk about Tylenol when the CRADA discussions come up is that the CRADA ran that. Because the hearts and minds of the people who were Johnson & Johnson and who were making the decisions in a whole series of disparate companies, we organized every company in the United States to help solve the problem. They all knew what to do.
All right. So the Johnson & Johnson credo is Johnson & Johnson's statement of values that, he was talking about, the CEO, James Burke. So what I would like to know now is, think about what you just saw, and then we'll talk a little bit about it, about you and your leadership and your organization. But think about what you just saw. What happened. I'm going to initiate a poll that would be there on your screen. And what I would like to do is just answer this question, okay? We did see this particular framework, the mindset, solutions, and the communication, okay? So I'm initiating the poll which says, what do you think the best about the Burke's response? Was it mindset? Was it a solution? Or is it a communication? Let me initiate the poll. You can give your responses on the screen. Right, 20 seconds more and we'll close the poll. All right, I'm just ending the poll. All right, can you see the results? 56% says the communication was the the tool that he used. 26% said it's a mindset, and rest 19% of you said that it's the solution, right? So I'm going to let me see if I can put someone on the chat. All right, I'm going to unmute one of you and let's see what he has to say about it. Chintan, I'm unmuting you. I want to understand, what do you think about this video and the framework that you have on the screen right away? Yes, Chintan.
Yeah, so what I felt in the video is that they had a very clear mindset as a corporate culture. So the decisions they were making, they were not driven by anyone. They were morely driven by mindset to serve customers. So probably
right, so
that saved them.
Right.
Sorry?
So it's more about their values they wanted to put in, because if you see that, he said that every Johnson & Johnson, worker around the globe would feel that, this is the wrong thing that we are doing. So as you said, it's a mindset. I would go ahead. Let me ask someone else here. You can raise your hand if you wish to talk. Okay, let me see. Shardul, can you give some lights on this?
Well, I also personally feel that it's about the mindset, because once you have the mindset, you have the ability to go ahead and communicate correctly with the people, with the government, and whoever is affected. So unless you have the right mindset, you would not be able to come up to the right solutions, or even let us say go ahead with the right communication.
Right, but to both Chintan and Shardul, since we are talking about mindset and communication, do you think that it was more of solutions or as well? Do you think it's a solution also that they talked about?
Yeah, to some extent they did.
They did, right? And did they manage the expectations as well?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, they did manage the expectations from from the stakeholders, from the world across, and then if you go back and check, the losses that they occurred was about 100 million back in 1980, right? But then they had to minimize the regret and move on, because it was more of the crisis that they had to fix, and they had to get ahead the problem, right? So let me put. Okay, so the next poll that I'm putting on your screen is about. Let me stop sharing. All right. The next poll that I'm going to launch on the screen, which says, how would you rate the crisis response in your own organization as on today to fight the COVID-19 crisis? On a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is the lowest and the 5 is the highest. You may want to just respond to the poll. The poll is open. Go ahead, guys. We have 30 seconds more to respond to this poll. Okay. Okay, I'm closing the poll in 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. See the results that we have on the screen right now. The result says the 46, almost 50% of people says that the crisis response in the current organization is on scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is the lowest and the 5 is highest. It's on number 3. Okay, where 15% of people said it's on number 5. I'm just stopping the sharing of the poll results. Just a minute. Can anyone would like to talk about, like, whoever has raised put number 5 as the answer can just raise their hand. So probably we can see that what is number 5 looks like and what is number 3 looks like. Okay. Okay, someone is using my own name, but that's okay. Yes. Hello. Yeah, who's this? All right. Anyone else would like to talk, about 5 and how the 3 looks like? We have Sunil Prajapati. Sunil, based on the answer, tell me how does 3 or 4 or 5 looks like?
It's depends on the current situation, and that's why I have called 50-50.
Correct.
That's why on average I have submitted the my poll has a 3 number because it's a 50-50% chance.
हाँ,
for
but
the both.
क्या लगता है कि जो आपकी
looking-
ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है उनका रिस्पांस कैसा है?
रिस्पॉन्स
Situation
वैसे
से।
बात करोगे सिचुएशन अभी रिस्पॉन्स तो ऐसा है कि कोई ट्राई कर रहे हैं कि भाई कम से कम ये हो तो
डैमेज
पर लेकिन जो एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट है वो तो अफेक्ट करेगा ही करेगा.
Of course. Right. We have Mishra Dinesh Kumar ji. Yes, sir. Tell me, क्या लगता है आपको?
Sir, at present scenario, COVID-19 is which is serious hazard for our life, but our directors and others are taking it very serious to save our employees. But we will be ready to live with COVID-19.
Yes.
Because
Atmanirbhar India, right?
COVID-19. Yes, sir.
जो मोदी जी ने भी बोला है ना आत्मनिर्भर बनना है.
आत्मनिर्भर एक अलग विषय है, लेकिन आज के समय में जो गवर्नमेंट है 100% टेस्टिंग नहीं है, अवेलेबिलिटी नहीं है, तो ये हमको मान के जीना पड़ेगा कि सबके पास कोरोना है और उसके लिए हमें बचाव करके मिडिल रास्ता अडॉप्ट करना पड़ेगा, सेफ्टी एंड सिक्योरिटी.
करेक्ट. सो इट्स मोर ऑफ माइंडसेट, राइट, जो हमें नया डेवलप करना है.
यस, पहले जो हमारा लीडरशिप है, that is loyalty, education, dutiful and respect all and suspect all.
Correct.
We should not deny them. We are very clearly that respect every pupils, that he is our coordination and this employee, but he is suspected. Tomorrow he can be declared he is a patient of COVID-19.
Correct. So basically, as you rightly said, that respect all and suspect all. So
yes, sir.
It's a mindset.
But no, we can't say who is people standing in my family, either in the society, either in our working premises, who is not a COVID-19 patient, because in the present scenario, government is not testing every pupils.
Right.
And we should agree ready for all purpose.
So basically, from the previous poll and even this poll, thank you, Dinesh Kumar ji. From the polls that we had, we can pretty much we can say that it's a mixture of all three. We need to be ready with a mindset. We need to keep looking for solution, and we need to keep communicating. Well. We'll move on to this, but I'll say this. I hope this whole topic is kind of learning from the past. So when you're in the exploratory mode, that really draws on past learning. And in fact, in this coronavirus, I think we are seeing that the countries who have done the best are the countries with specific experience dealing with the national health emergencies in the past, who are making use of their experience. Some of the Asian countries, including India especially, because I remember there was a time when we had the flu that was and the plague that was there in the country. So I think that learning from the past is helping. And there's another example which I'm impressed with is the example of Peru's response. Some people from Peru in Latin America hopped in the crisis very early when it was not even in the news. They worked on their own the crisis management plan, and at some level, not some, at a high extent level, they were quite successful. And we are talking about the leadership here, so that is the ability to see past, and because of a lot of things get put you in your bucket as a leader, and the people on your team, the people around you will be asking you to deal with things that are problems today. But a big part of the role is taking the next step ahead. I think we are all interested in our national leaders as well. I would suggest that we can all learn from our national leaders, the medical professionals that they are talking about, because they are the one who's fighting the crisis in the front face. Okay, so I wanted to have this particular framework shared and introduced, and a little evaluation of with a brief of reflecting on your own situation. Uh, let me put to you to the next thought. Okay, so I want to end on a positive note and or hopeful note that there is a famous president of USA from 1960 that we all know, Mr. John F. Kennedy. And he had said that when written in Chinese, the word crisis is composed of two characters. The first character is represent danger, and the second represent opportunity. Okay, I wonder if that's actually true. We probably have people on call who knows whether that's true or not, but it's a good metaphor, not nonetheless, and the part of man leading in crisis is understanding reality and facing reality, but also providing hope and staying optimistic. And so I want to conclude here by asking the question and asking you to put in the chat. We can learn from what's going on today and can produce. Before that, I would like to put these questions to everyone. What good can come out of this particular situation that we have as on today? What do you think that what can we learn from here? Just raise your hand if you want to add somewhere here that this is the good learning that we have from this crisis that we are facing today. Just raise your hand and I'll unmute you all. Whoever wish to add anything here. Okay. Jatin Doshi would like to add here. Yes, Jatin.
Humanity and a teamwork.
Absolutely. Humanity and teamwork, that is something which we have seen.
Yeah.
Anyone else who would like to add? Yes, Dinesh. Yes, Dinesh Kumar.
Yes, sir. During this environment, we are standing in a battlefield, and a battlefield is always giving a lesson to us. However, I am 54 years age. Now we are living. I am feeling that we are living in the past 50 years backside, the natural life. And at present time, everyone have learned lesson that how to survive our own self.
Right.
In the condition when nuclear, biological, and chemical wars will be begin in third world war. Right. At that time, however, we will survive. We are having ration for today, but not for tomorrow. And the present generation who is living in this scenario, they doesn't know how to maybe fight. They doesn't seen any battles. They have seen 1999, not 99. They are showing proxy war. We are standing in the battlefield, and we should stand at every time standby.
Absolutely. So again, if I talk about the framework that I showed, it's more about the mindset that we need to be prepared. We need to ensure that we keep on communicating with our team members on a regular basis, because they are the one who look up to us. And as I said, that if we go weaken, there are high chances that their morale will go low. So yes, I would agree with Dinesh Kumarji that it's all about how we think. We don't know what's going to come tomorrow. Today we have things to look for, but we are not sure about tomorrow. So yes, Dinesh Kumarji,
yes, sir. In the present scenario, every citizen is required to stand by as a live soldier who is standing in the front to fight with enemy. And now we are fighting with unknown enemy who is present in our environment.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that the size or the weight of the enemy is less than 5 grams if we put all the viruses together from the globe, which is not seen and which is unknown to us. So yes, anything else that you would like to add, Dinesh Kumarji?
No, sir. I could add for adding. I would like to say all the participants who is working as a leader is never die. Today you are leader. Leader never die. All our subordinate and superior, who is superior today, I will be leader superior for tomorrow. And
Correct.
always kept in our mind that leader never die.
Correct. Thank you. So that's a very
Please, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Chirag Kanani is here. Chirag, आपको कुछ कहना है?
हेलो।
हाँ जी, बोलिए।
नहीं, जस्ट ये मालूम चला कि वर्क एनवायरनमेंट आप कहीं पे भी क्रिएट कर सकते हो। अभी
Right.
तक जो भी लोग बहुत मजाक में जोक वगैरह कर रहे थे फैमिली के लिए, पर्टिकुलर लेडी के लिए, कि उसके साथ ये नहीं रह सकते हैं, ऐसा होता है, ऐसा होता है, वो लोगों को सबको समझ में आया होगा कि लेडी कैसे काम करती है, और उसके साथ भी पूरा एक महीना भी निकाल सकते हैं। ऐसा नहीं है कि उसके ऊपर हम मजाक करें।
Right, absolutely. So basically we learned it hard way, right? जो हमें शायद दिखता नहीं था वो अब हमें दिख रहा है. Good thought. Thank you very much, Chirag, for giving your thought. Anyone else who would like to add here? Someone is using my own name, but let me unmute. Yes, who's this?
Hello, this is Shruti.
Hi, Shruti.
Yeah. So I think the best what we can do in this crisis is building our cultural values more strongly by communicating effectively and with empathy. I think this will make employees and other stakeholders feel valued.
Absolutely. So again, it's a communication, right? So the framework that I gave, it precisely talk about all the three parameters, right? So, and the good thing, the one, ladies and gentlemen, if you heard about it, what Shruti said, it's more of the culture creation. You need to create the culture of trust and communication. Thank you very much, Shruti. I'm just muting you here. Would you like to add
Thank
anything
you.
here?
No, sir. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who would like to share the piece of wisdom? Okay, I'm getting too many messages in the private chat to continue. Okay, I'll show you. Someone is asking me to show the framework. So here is the framework, the crisis management framework. I have, by mistake, I've written crisis framework. It's a crisis management framework which has three ingredients: the mindset, solution, and communication. And we all were talking about the same thing over and over, that it's a communication it's a key to the manage the crisis. Then comes the mindset, as Mishra ji said, that we need to be ready by mind, that whatever is going to come on our way, we need to face it. And the solutions are something which probably everyone is working these days. Anyone else would like to anything else here? So continue to think about all these things, and so let's be aware of what's challenging a situational awareness is, and kind of a key part of problem solving and the key part of leadership. Pay attention to mindset, pay attention to solution, and pay attention to communication, and think about positives and what can be learned and how we can use those learnings for the good. There'll be much pains in the crisis. Again, I'm not saying to ignore it, but one would hope that the learning that's produced that would create a lot of good out in the future. So thanks for attending this webinar. I'm just unmuting everyone if you wish to add anything. All right, so I'll show you the. Sorry, someone wants to add something? Just raise your hand. All right, so these are my coordinates. I am from Vadodara. My company's website is confabpro.com. That's my mobile number and the email address to reach out to me. Right. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being a patient audience and adding value to this particular webinar today. Thank you. Thank you very much. You have a pleasant evening and a great weekend ahead. Bye-bye.